Okay, I want to get started so that all of our panelists have time to talk. This is the mental health panel. So we're trying to bring awareness to the resources at K-State for everybody to get the help that they need to succeed. Special thanks to the American Chemical Society and Division of Biology for providing the pizza after this. We had tons of support across the university for putting this panel together. We had the colleges of arts and science, engineering and business were all represented in the panel that organized it. Office of Student Life, CAUSE, the Graduate Education Provost and staff helped us out. Lafayette Health Center has been a wonderful partner putting this together. Counseling and psychological services have helped us out. In fact, we have 2 therapists who are here with us. So if anything feels triggering or you need to talk to somebody, we got 2 folks in the back with their hands waved. If anybody steps out, they can follow you. If you're just going to the bathroom, maybe make eye contact with them and give them a thumbs up and let them know that you don't actually need to talk while you pee. Let's see, who else do I want to thank? I want to thank the Office of Retention, Diversity, Inclusion, and College of Engineering. They've been very helpful with this. And then I want to just shout out to the people who are behind the scenes putting everything together. We've got Kyle and Chris on the panel who helped, but also Amy, Nancy, Ryan, Miki, Allison, Jim, Parker in the back, all have been working for months to put this together for you. With that, I'm gonna stop talking, except for to say that if you're online and you need to speak with somebody, we've got the phone numbers for Lafayette Health and also for counseling services. Don't wait. If you're feeling triggered or activated or just wonder if you are in any way, go ahead and reach out. It's not the kind of thing you want to wait on. Okay, so with that, I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves. We're going to start with Arnie and move to the left.
Okay. Hello all. My name is Arnaldo Torres. I'm a 3rd-year grad student here at K-State in chemistry, and I'm so happy to be here with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sakshi. I'm a 2nd-year PhD student in leadership communication, and I'm happy to be here. Good morning.
Hello, I'm Dr. Cody Walls, and I'm the Assistant Director and Lead Clinician at Lafine's Counseling and Psychological Services. And I'm so excited to be in front of all you people and the folks on Zoom. That's very exciting, and I look forward to our great discussion.
My name is Dr. Amanda Golke. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Economics, and my research relates to both health and education, so very happy to be here.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kyle Worrell. I'm the medical director at Lafayette Health Center.
Excuse me, Bill Snyder, previous football coach here at Kansas State University for your lifetime. And thank you very much again for inviting me.
Hello, I'm Columbayera. I'm a senior in computer science and a student worker in the Multicultural Engineering Program Office.
Hello, everybody. I am Chris Bowman, the director of the Morrison Family Center for Student Wellbeing that's housed in Lafayette Health Center.
Just a note to the panelists, both mics work, so we can have one on one end and one on the other. Will probably help out with passing. And then I wanted to start off the panel discussion with a question for Dr. Walls. You know, we're having this discussion about mental health. Could you tell us when we're going through just normal stuff that we can probably handle on our own versus when we actually need to get a professional involved to help us out?
Yeah, thank you. That's such a great question. So first, I just want to acknowledge that and remind everyone that we're in the middle of a pandemic. And those stressors have not gone away, even though we are working really hard to go back to, in-person learning and to stay connected with one another and to create opportunities through, vaccination to be in close connection with people and make new relationships. So I just want to take a moment to acknowledge that piece because it's our reality right now. And lots of times I think, because we've been in this now for how many months? 19, 18, is that too many? I'm not looking at you, Kyle, because you're nodding. So we've been in this for so long that I think we're really still in survival mode. So maybe some of the things that we would have paid attention to in the past that we would maybe call pink flags versus red flags for something seriously wrong, we've sort of put aside in an effort to just stick with doing what we're doing, trying to get through classes, working to fulfill our research requirements and expectations, doing our GA work. And so when we think about ourselves in that context, we might forget that sometimes we're going to be sad. Sometimes we're going to worry. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we're falling towards a mental health disorder or that we need to reach out and to speak to a professional. But when coming from a psychologist perspective, where I start to feel a little curious about things is one, if it feels really intense. And intense being like, I woke up this morning and I don't feel like I can bring myself to get out of bed. I know I have to fulfill all these requirements, but I just can't bear to face the day. Like that's pretty intense, right? We want to be able to be functioning people. Another piece of intensity, right, is if we're having thoughts that are risky and not like us. So maybe we're having thoughts like, well, if I just were dead, then I wouldn't have to deal with this. Ha ha. We may laugh, right? I'm sure we all know people in our lives who maybe joke about that stuff, but that could be a pink flag, right? It's like, this doesn't sound like you. Are you doing okay? Or even looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, this doesn't sound like you. Are you okay? So that level of intensity should start to trip you towards maybe I should start talking to somebody about what's happening to me. And that could be a really trusted friend. I know advisors and faculty members end up finding out a lot of things that other personnel in like the health field and mental health field, and even the Office of Student Life don't find out about until later because you just trust them more. But sort of giving yourself a chance to think, when did this start? Did something happen? Like, did I fail an exam? Did my partner break up with me? Did I lose a family member to COVID? Like these things have a starting point, right? And it's very normal to be sad or upset. But when we're having a lot of trouble identifying at what point something happened, then it could be a good indicator again that we should start looping in our support system, and we might consider coming to counseling and psychological services just to do a check-in with somebody to make sure we're going where we need to. Is that good? Okay.
Oh, that was absolutely fantastic, Dr. Walls. My next question is going to be for Chris Bowman. Chris, you're involved in a lot of ways in getting students the support that they need. I was hoping you could tell us about the Green Bandana program and how it can benefit just to talk to a peer or someone like that.
Thanks so much. The Green Bandana Project is something. Somebody's dog must have got a hold of one of the microphones. No. Anyway, so part of last January at Lafayette Health Center, we started a new student outreach group that is dedicated to mental health awareness and outreach and stigma reduction. And that group was called the Thrive Navigators. You may see some t-shirts around the Thrive Navigator logo. It's something that we really wanted to build from the ground up with student involvement was really, really important. And so we still formed our student group, and we were the student group was looking for that's me, but I'm sitting still. Anyway, part of that student group is we were looking for a campaign or event or something to introduce us to campus as a mental health outreach group that's led by students, peer-to-peer. And something came across our desk called the Bandana Project. And it was something that we really thought could be very valuable for the K-State community. And essentially what the Bandana Project is there was a student, it started at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. A student at Wisconsin had lost a friend to suicide. And I believe he was in a fraternity, and the fraternity was sitting around and they were talking about what resources were available to students that may be struggling. And he said it was kind of scary that none of his peers really knew all the resources that were available to them. And then also they kind of went a little bit deeper and they were talking about, they were dealing with loss. They were dealing with something that they were having a challenge with. They didn't know what resources were available to them as well. So his name is Conlon, and we've actually met with Conlon a few times. He's a great, great person. He started what's called the Bandana Project. And essentially what the Bandana Project is and we have some in the room. I forgot to grab one. But across campus, we have green bandanas that students, we ask if they go through a specialized training called How Can I Help? And I'll talk about that here in a second. But students go through a 45-minute seminar, essentially on how to talk to people that they have a concern for, how to start conversations, how to lean into it, and also how to give them the resources they need. They go through that 45-minute training or a seminar, and then they're given a green bandana that we ask them to tie to their book bag, their purse, display it somehow. But with that, when they take that green bandana, they're also saying that they're going to take resource cards. And we develop these resource cards at Lafayette Health Center that have resources available to students when they're struggling with their mental health that are here at K-State, in the community, and nationally. And they get these 5 resource cards. And the point of it is for them to give it to their peers, to give to other students. That peer-to-peer connection we think is really, really valuable. Because I think our best resource here at K-State are the students. They're one of our best resources. And students on campus, they engage with more people in one day than probably this whole panel does in a whole month. So we wanted to somehow leverage them as a resource to pass out and help us spread the resources like Dr. Walls talked about, and we'll talk about a little bit more. And so it's been very, I call it successful. People are having conversations with students. We've had reports back from students that went through our training, and our training, our seminars titled, How Can I Help? It's really insightful. Our students that developed this, our Thrive Navigators, they sat down, and a lot of other universities, every Big 10 university has a bandana project chapter. We are the first in the Big 12 to have it. And every university does it a little bit differently. Some universities, they set out green bandanas and resource cards, and people can just pick them up and say, yep, I'll pass them out. We did a little bit differently here at K-State. We put this workshop or seminar in place. And it was really insightful by our students. They said, we don't think we need to give a training or a seminar or a presentation that goes into like clinical anxiety, depression, PTSD. They wanted to do it on just a baseline, how to communicate with somebody that they have a concern for. And I think it makes a lot of sense because I think a lot of times people may not lean in and ask how somebody's doing because they're not sure if they're helping the situation or they're making it worse, or they don't know where their role stops, once they lean in and start helping people. This training addresses all of that. We give them a checklist of if you've done these things, then you have tried to help. You've made the situation better. And so we've went out, we've delivered the training. I think we're up to about 400 students now since January that have received the training. The feedback we've got is they really enjoyed. The thing too about it is people tie these green bandanas to their book bags, purses, whatever. It's still reducing stigma around mental health, even if somebody never comes and asks them for them resource cards. I always give the example if, let's say I'm a student, I'm out on Bosco Plaza, and I look across and I see 25 students with green bandanas on their book bags. That gives me confidence that K-State's becoming a very mentally health aware community. It's something we're taking serious, and that's reducing stigma, and that may motivate me to seek some of the services that are available to me as a K-State student. So that is the bandana. If you would like the bandana training, go to our Lafayette website, you're gonna request it. We can do it for groups or for individuals.
That sounds like such a wonderful program. Columba, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I noticed that you have a green bandana on your book bag. Would you be willing to show that to everybody?
All the departments, and then the QR code for it.
I promise that wasn't planned.
Yeah.
I saw you talking. I was like, oh man, this is perfect. So, Columba, I did have another question for you. We've heard some from professionals so far, but we spoke before this and you mentioned that you had actually used some of these services. Could you tell us what it was like to use the services and what kind of barriers you might have had finding them?
Thank you. Yeah, so I've used services at the Family Center for therapy, and there was really only 2 major barriers. The first one being culturally. I'm Hispanic, and in the Hispanic community, there's very much a stigma against going to like medical doctors. It's, it's like, deal with it yourself, oh, you're feeling sad, just go out and, eat a good meal, a good burrito will really help with this. And so, getting past that, being able to say like, no, I need professional help. Was just really hard because, like I said, it's a cultural thing. So it's, familiar wise, friend wise, there wasn't too much going on there. So it was really just up to me to be like, I need to reach out. And then the second barrier was myself. It was really just like we were saying, the pink flags, me realizing, okay, no, you actually need to address this at some point. Because a lot of the time, what I would think is that it's a waste of time. I'm wasting their time. There's people that actually need help. I don't need help. I'm wasting their time by going in and asking them questions. And so getting past that and realizing that I'm not a waste of time. You guys aren't a waste of time. You need to go in and they're there for us. They're there to help us. And so getting past that and actually going in was it was a lot of work. Once I was in there, I for some reason just absolutely loved it. Even some days where I was not loving it too much. uh, hard sessions. Did not want to go in because I knew I was going to have to talk about specific things. But then afterwards, it was always a relief that I'd actually spoken about it. Somebody knew what I was going through. And it was just so much relief because, like I said, getting in through the door that first day was so much more work than just continuously going afterward.
Oh, man. That was so wonderful. I loved what you said, where you said, I didn't feel like I was worth it. And then when you followed that up with, you are worth it. Man, that was fantastic. Thank you. Okay, my next question is for Dr. Galki. Sorry if I got your name horrible. I think it's already on, but I wanted to hear about your experience as a professor. You're the professor on the panel. Do students ever come to you with concerns, or maybe they're like feeling like they don't belong, that sort of thing? Have you had those experiences?
So I definitely have had undergrad experience with undergrad students a lot last year. I've been teaching very large classes where students are telling me they're having panic attacks. They don't know what's wrong with them. They feel like I don't know what's going on. I can't succeed. And just a shout out to the resources on campus. Once those students were able to work with student life and get put into contact with these different resources, it was like a complete 180. In terms of then they were getting things done on time, they were doing really great, and you could just see like a really big difference in terms of how things were going, and they were just right, like their mindset was just so different in terms of like complete break before and after. And there have been numerous grad students who I've talked to throughout the years saying like, I don't want to do my research 24/7. Maybe that means I don't belong here. I didn't get like all these things that I wanted. My research isn't moving fast enough. Right? Like maybe someone else seems to be doing so much better in this class, or their research project seems so much better, or they're going to more conferences or whatever it is. And just to realize that like it's not, imposter syndrome is a thing. It's something that lots of people feel. I think I didn't realize it as much as a grad student, but being faculty, talking and hearing now like on social media, really big people in the field saying we all deal with this. And so it's not just like if you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, you don't belong, because even the best people in your field probably feel exactly the same way. And just to know, like, I have a lot of respect for all of the students right now. Grad school is hard enough during a non-pandemic time. I think my sister's currently getting a master's, and her advisor said grad school is like trying to drink out of a fire hydrant. And that's definitely was my experience, and feeling like, oh my gosh, I went straight from undergrad to grad school. Other people came in with masters. I was like, I'm way behind, what's going on? And just to know that like everyone feels that way. And just, right, if you have like a great mentor or advisor and talking to them, I think if you can talk to them more, you'll realize that they at times in their life have felt the same way. Like talking to professors when I was a grad student who you think, oh my gosh, they're so accomplished, they're publishing in top 5 journals. And then you hear, well, I worked a whole decade on that one paper, and that's what it took to get it in there. And just hearing about like the struggles that they have gone through, and hearing from colleagues, like I got 10 rejections before I got my first paper accepted. and just talking to other people and realizing like you're not the only one who's ever got rejected from a grant or had a paper rejected from a journal, or feeling like you're not making as much progress, and just realizing that it's okay. Everyone feels like that at some point, and just that is not any indication whether or not you can be successful, since people who, right, even now who are working and have worked on as economic advisors for presidents in the past, right? They're the top people in the field. They're getting asked to do all these really policy relevant things and advising presidents of the United States. They still have times where they say like, yeah, I doubted myself, and just realizing that that doesn't mean, oh, you must leave school. You're never cut out for this. You're never going to be successful. And just realizing that it's actually really common, right? Most people probably don't always want to admit that because you feel like you're the only one, but right, in talking, hopefully you have friends in the program or advisors that you can talk to, just realizing that a lot of people do feel that way at some point.
That's really great. I mean, I have never met somebody who hasn't faced imposter syndrome. I just don't think any of us get through life without feeling that way. I literally right now while I'm talking, I'm like, what is this idiot doing up there with the microphone? I do not feel qualified to be here. It is something that a lot of us struggle with. You're really kind. My next question is for Sakshi. I wanted to ask you about dealing with mental health as an international student, coming to a different country. I mean, I've been on vacations to different countries and I feel overwhelmed just like getting out of the airport. I can't imagine trying to learn material in a different country while dealing with all the challenges that we've heard about already. Could you talk to your experience about that and maybe what it's like and how you dealt with it?
Yeah, it's not easy. Being an international student myself, I just felt like everything that we have talked about so far is included. On top of that, there is a struggle of language. English is not our first language, even though I've been learning English since my kindergarten, which is hard to believe. First 2 years was a struggle because I wasn't able to keep up with my classes. It was fast. It was everyone was catching up but me, and we have this added pressure. First of all, we do not actually have anything called mental health in most of our families, if not some of our families, if not all. Mental health is definitely a stereotype, and just be happy is the solution our parents give to us. If I'm feeling low, if I've had a bad day, just be happy, just focus on your studies. And they have a very unrealistic expectations from us since they've spent so much money sending us here, which is another struggle for most international students since there's a difference in the currency. We come from middle class families. And on top of that, they have the expectations for us to ace in all our classes. So in order to save money, most of the times we try to take as many classes as possible in a semester. We rush through those. We have the fear of letting our parents down. We have the fear of acing these classes, trying to understand a language, fear of isolation because we do not know a lot of people around us, with the fear of not being understood by people. And this is pre-COVID. Now, post-COVID is another story. Not being able to go home, not being able to get in touch with our families on time, fear of parents being away and sick. I lost my father last year to COVID myself. So I know the kind of pressure that it puts on me. I have suffered through anxiety for the past 3 years. Just being an international student and being a graduate student myself, a lot goes on. And on top of that, you have to keep up with everyone's expectations. So I just feel like it all adds up. And also the fact that not knowing or not being able to find out how much seeking help costs, what it's gonna be like. And like you said, wasting someone else's time to explain yourself is another fear. So I just feel like it's an added pressure for sure, but it's not something that we definitely don't want to overlook, but it's not something that cannot be solved or it's not inevitable. It can be worked through, but it definitely is a big challenge and is often overlooked because of where we come from and the type of stereotype that cultures carry for mental health. Yeah, it is.
These
Thank you.
students are really doing some powerful talking. I love it. Okay, my next question is for Coach Snyder. Coach Snyder, you've been involved in this community for as long as most of us can remember. I'll hand you the mic this time. You've been a mentor to so many people. I wonder if you could give us your advice on well-being and how to find balance in life.
Well, excuse me, thank you. You know, I think first and foremost, there are no unique problems. There are no different problems, let me put it that way, or problems that have not existed before. The significant thing to me, I think, is that we, each of us, surround ourselves with people who genuinely care about us, people who want to see us do well, people who do well, do right themselves. I think as a student, we have access to so many people, and we can make some bad choices in that respect. And we can do that as graduates or people beyond college years. But I do think that to surround yourself with people that genuinely care and do want to make a difference in your life is extremely important. And those people are there. They're there for everyone. And it's appropriate for us to be able to seek them out. I think it's important for, for all of us, there's an awful lot said about goal achievement and people establishing goals, et cetera. And you think about it, you're probably one of millions and millions and millions who have different goals every 25 minutes. So these are my goals for today and for my lifetime goals that I set today. And then 2 weeks from now, I set different ones, which I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. I'm just saying that there are priorities in each and every one of our lives. Those priorities may vary from person to person, but whatever those priorities happen to be, it may be faith, it may be family, it may be health, it may be career field, whatever those priorities are, those are significant in establishing your goals. If family is important to us, then it's important to be able to establish what do we want to achieve in that arena, in that area. So that's a place where we can establish a goal or an objective. What is it I want to achieve to be successful in my relationship with my family, my faith, same way. Anything that is significant in your life that you identify that. I used to have our players, and for 30 years, if they're here for 4 or 5 years, they go through it, every single year. And it was to take 10 days out of their life, consecutive days, and each and every day before they went to bed, I gave them a notepad. And each night they would sit down and write what are the priorities in their life. They'd come back the next night and add on, delete from, whatever came to their mind. And they do that for 10 consecutive days. And I thought in doing that there probably could be somewhat of a, I won't say finality, but a greater understanding what's really important in their lives. And then they would take the next 12 days and define in each one of those priorities / goals, what must they do in order to achieve those particular goals or priorities. Now, again, this isn't all rocket science. I mean, it's really a pretty simple process. And so they would think through, what is it I need to do to achieve this particular priority in my life or this goal? And we don't know, none of us know the answer to all of those. So therein lies the value of those people that you have brought into your life or that you do bring into your life that have experienced that do have some answers and the steps that we need to take. And once we've identified that, then it's, it gets down to kind of that old Nike slogan, just do it. And that's maybe where we all falter a great deal is, we know what, but we're not ready to take that first step or willing to take the first step. And, what is that? It's, for lack of a better word, it's perseverance. It's perseverance. It's being able to, someone mentioned a moment ago about Dr. did not wanting to get up in the mornings because of some of the problems. It's amazing what happens when you have that feeling. It's amazing what happens when you put that first foot on the floor. You can make yourself do it. Not a person in this room that can't make yourself do that. And once the first foot goes on the floor, the second one will follow. I promise you that. Okay, it's doable. It's doable. And there's a mindset that says, okay, I'm going to take that step. Does that solve all the problems? No, it just gets you started. But perseverance is a major thing. I give, as a student, all of us have read about Abraham Lincoln, and you think about his perseverance. Failed at public office 8 or 9 times in succession before he ran and became the president of the United States. That's perseverance. How many people do we know would falter at a particular task and come back and do it a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, a seventh, eighth, ninth time? Not a whole lot. But, if it's something you truly desire, why not? At the end of the day, there's proof. Abraham Lincoln is proof that you can do it. Okay? And I think about my daughter. We have a daughter, her name is Meredith, one of 5 children. And Meredith, when she was a junior in high school, was a passenger in a automobile, had an automobile accident, ran into a tree, threw her out the front windshield, headlong into a tree. She broke her neck. They took her immediately to Dallas hospital, and they did a surgery. Doctor went in and looked at her and came out and said, we're going to have to do a surgery right now. We have your permission, and most certainly. And she had broken a number of bones in her spine and had severed a spinal cord. After the surgery, the doctor came out and said, Coach, your daughter will never walk again for the rest of her life. And turned and walked away. And I called the doctor back and I said, I don't mean to be rude, but you're wrong. My daughter will walk again. Because I knew her perseverance. Today, almost 30 years later, she walks. After the surgery, 6 weeks after the surgery, she was in Dallas Rehab Institute. She walked out of the institute with the aid of a helping hand and a cane. My daughter still, walks with a helping hand. She can make it by herself, rather crudely, but she does. My daughter is now married. She has 3 children. She owns and operates 3 businesses. She owns, a ton of acreage that she manages. My point is, it was perseverance. She could do it. When everyone said she could do it. Abraham Lincoln did it when everyone said you couldn't. that becomes significant in our lives. Somebody mentioned expectations. You know, and we've all grown up with expectations placed upon us all of our lives. And what we have in common is they were all placed upon us by other people, right? You think about expectations, you think about, as mentioned a moment ago by the young lady, you know, expectations placed upon us by our parents, by our teachers, by people in the community, by friends, but all types of expectations that are placed upon us. And expectations we cannot, the world doesn't exist without it. But the important expectations are not what others place upon us, what we place upon ourselves. I mean, you think about that. You know, sometimes we do something because that's what the system says we must do. Okay, what do we say we must do? What are my expectations of myself? And those things we have control over. Many of the others we do not. Okay. We place limitations on our abilities to achieve success or to accomplish what we would desire to accomplish. But those limitations that we placed on ourselves are unnecessary. Once again, if we accept perseverance as a value, that we can accomplish that which we desire to achieve. Well, I guess my point of all of it is significantly directed towards we have greater control over that which we do than sometimes we desire to admit. And it's important for us to admit to the fact that we can control that which we have control over. That's an old adage somewhere. Okay? But we can achieve what we desire to achieve if we have the perseverance to do it. And of course, you know, hard work and all that other stuff comes into play, but the perseverance sets the tone for that. And it's being able to invest ourselves in feeling that. And once again, you know, as I said, and that's why people are here. You know, we don't always believe we have the answers, but the answers are out there. They're there. And it's finding the appropriate people, bringing those people into your life that can provide the direction, the responses, and the answers that you want.
Thank you, Coach Snyder. That was a lot of good advice. I loved what you were saying about bringing in the right people into your lives and not giving up on your dream and defining your own dream. I think that that's really important to deal with expectations. It's a lot easier to push for a goal, to persevere if it's your goal and not something somebody else has placed on you. And it's a lot easier to get to that goal if you're willing to get the right people around you to help you get there. That was fantastic. My next question is for Arnie. Arnie, you are doing some cool stuff. I looked you up on the internet before this because that's what you do now, right? You Google stalk people. So this man is redesigning chemicals to make them less toxic, to try and help with healthcare, to reduce side effects. And you're supposed to be teaching classes and you're applying for NSF fellowships. How in the world do you do all of this stuff and find any time to balance your life?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here with all of you. And I would like first to talk a little bit more about my experience with mental health, so you can understand when exactly I was like, okay, mental health is really important. When I was an undergrad, I was like, you know, working a lot, taking my classes, theater, um, doing a lot of work, and which was amazing. But I was taking somehow that to avoid thinking about my personal stuff, my personal issues, right? And I spent a lot of years doing that. Then I joined grad school. Hey, and there, my first semester, I started teaching, taking classes, grading, presentation, doing a lot of stuff, a lot of stuff. And after that, in my second semester, then I started with research. So that was another thing to do. So I'm still working with all these things and avoiding thinking about my stuff, right? I also, back in Puerto Rico, there was a hurricane in 2017. I don't know if you remember, but I passed through that hurricane. It was really a bad experience for me. In that second semester, when I started research, I also went to Puerto Rico to have some vacations, and I ended up with an earthquake. So that was also a very hard time for me and for my family there. And when I came back from those vacations, the pandemic started. And I was like, what is going on? This is too much. And I just basically, when I went back to lab, it just exploded. And I was like, okay, I need help. And that's when I was like, I realized that I was not taking time for my mental health. And that's when I decided to contact the counseling and psychological services here. And that helped me a lot because I just talk and I just contact someone to help me. And probably that will be the first tip that I will give to students, grad students, and to anyone. Just talk, find someone to talk with. And also what helped me a lot now in grad school, I'm trying to be smart with time. I'm scheduling, I do my schedule and I put everything that I need to do properly. And I trying to find my times for me, just for me. And of course, maybe I'm giving you this tip. Okay, you can make a schedule, but not every time you will follow that. Okay, because things happen, it will change, but you have a general idea of what you can do, and you can, move this to this day, to this time, and whatever. And basically, that was my whole experience with mental health. And that's my big tip here for grad students and undergrads too. Just be smart with time. And if you need help, I have amazing friends too. I have 2 lab mates and they are amazing. I open up with them and they help me a lot to going through all my stuff. And also as international student too, I struggle a lot first with my language. So I was like, okay, I need someone that speaks Spanish so I can properly say what I'm feeling, right? So I met someone in the chemistry department, like we are now really good friends. And it's amazing to have those time with these people so I can share everything with them and tell all my experience in the lab, all my experience with life. And that helped me a lot during all those crazy times that I was passing through. So yeah, smart with time.
I heard you say something a little bit more than be smart with time. I heard you say prioritize yourself and what you need. And that really kind of dovetailed in with Coach Snyder's comments about identify your own goals and push towards your own goals. And I think absolutely maintaining our mental health, an element of that is finding yourself important enough to ask for the help. So that was wonderful.
Mental health first, always.
Okay, we haven't heard from one panel member left. And I asked Dr. Girl to go last because I thought he was the least likely to take my head off for going last. Uh, Jokes aside, we've heard a lot of general ideas that you need to ask for help. I'm hoping that you can tell us what services are available when people need that help, what Lafine can do to help our students.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. It's great to be here, and I think it's really important to take the time to kind of highlight what you do have available to you on campus, and it's not insignificant. You know, for example, you've heard there's help through the Family Center. There's help at Lafine in counseling and psychological services. At Lafine, we have 2 psychiatric nurse practitioners, obviously extremely skilled in helping folks with mental health issues. They tend to do things a little bit more on the medicine side. And then we have our friends downstairs in counseling and psychological services, and over at the Family Center, who do things more on the therapy side. We have a number of general practitioner providers who, you know, probably 25% of what we see in a day is mental health, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, you know, adjustment disorder. So it is a very, very common thing for us to manage. And it's something that I feel like we have really skilled people available to you for. And so, you know, you don't have to feel like you're wasting somebody's time. We've got plenty of people to help. And if you're actually having those thoughts, it's probably an indication that there isn't actually a problem. And so I think to kind of pull it together and relate back to what Coach was saying is when you've got these goals, you know, maybe it's to publish, it's to work on your dissertation, it's these internal goals that are so vitally important to you. Oftentimes, we get in our own way of accomplishing those goals. And it can be because we're listening to other people's expectations, you know, maybe our parents, or maybe it's our lab director. But what we can help you do, and especially a lot of folks down at CAPS can help you do, is work through what expectation is my expectation versus what expectation am I operating off of somebody else's thoughts and ideas. And that's where we are available, is to try to tease those out, because what we want to do is help you accomplish the goals that you set for yourself, and to get some of those thoughts and ideas that are preventing you from advancing and being successful, to figure out how to work through those, manage those, so that you can execute what it is that you want to do. And so I think that K-State is extremely fortunate to have all of the folks on campus who work so hard from a mental health standpoint. It is pervasive. It's you know, worsened by the pandemic. We are there's no shortage of help that is needed right now, and that's why we're here. That's what we love to do. We could all probably do just great in private practice, but we want to be on campus because we love students, and that's why we're here, is to help you all. So please take advantage of those resources. Get in touch with Chris. Get the Bandana Project training. You know, pass those ideas along, because the more we can spread those ideas, the more help we can provide on campus, and the more mentally health aware we will be as a community. Thank you.
Can I jump in? Thank you. So also, I really appreciate your rundown of all the services, Dr. Gorel. And I do want to highlight something, holding in the fact of like the cultural expectations and norms of families, right? Like you don't know what that will look like. So CAPS and Lafine Health Center provide confidential services. So what that means is, even if you call to make an appointment with us, and then your parent or your roommate were to call us and say, hey, I know so-and-so is meeting with you, we would be like, so-and-so who? Because we recognize that not all the time we're in safe relationships with other people. So we take that very seriously. We won't talk to anybody unless you want us to. And the other piece, because I think you were talking about cost of services, right? Our services are free at CAPS. So you come into our office and you connect with one of our clinicians for a 30-minute consultation to talk about what best resources we have. And then we make those recommendations and you get to immediately start your mental health care and treatment. Something that else I want to highlight in recognizing the diversity of our student panel up here is that we strive for culturally competent mental health care. And we work really hard. We recognize we're on a predominantly white institution, we're a predominantly white staff, but we take a lot of effort to maintain cultural competence and working with diverse populations, whether it's race, ethnicity, sexuality, gender identity, religion. We can bring all those things into the space and work with those in a way that's most helpful for you. Like we want to meet the students where they are with what they need. And we recognize that we can't separate culture from that aspect. I don't know how many people lately I've been talking to about like sexism in the STEM field and how you manage that expectation. Racism within any field, and how do you recognize that what's happening is real and valid, but you also can't totally get rid of it. So you have to figure out a way to deal with it. And that's finding connections with the people around you, making those close relationships with people who understand you and can be supportive of you. And we can help talk through those things too. So I just wanted to name those things.
I think that's important to highlight. If you come to talk to any provider at Lafayette, that's no cost to you. Now, if we prescribe a medication, order a lab, those things cost something, but just to come in and talk to us, that is for students, that is no cost. So please don't let that be a barrier. And if you get to us and we feel like you need some lab testing or you need some medication or you need X, Y, or Z, we're gonna help kind of, and cost is a concern of yours. We're gonna help with that, okay? In terms of trying to come up with the best possible solution for your situation. And so while it's still providing and recommending the best possible care that is available. So come see us. We can help troubleshoot things once you're through the door.
And I wanted to add, as you're leaving, you'll see out on the table, we have a sheet of some of the services that counseling counseling and psychological services offers, the groups, the workshops. I want to say the amount of work that's been done by Cody and her staff, because we know that the pandemic can be trying for people, especially their mental health. They've really worked hard to make sure that our student body is taken care of, along with the providers at Lafayette. And so as you're leaving, if you look on the back table, we have some of the services that are available. If you have questions, and when I say back table, I mean outside, that back. No, but anyway, utilize the services. We have a lot of really, really good people that are here to take care of students, and they do a very, very good job. It's inspiring to watch how, like I said, working in our healthcare center, how important students are to us and their well-being and taking care. So just want to say, and also, you'll see some stickers, You at KSU. It's an online platform that's designed to help students. It's free for all students to help with their well-being, resources, things of that nature. So grab some of that. I just wanted to make sure you knew they were back there and they're free for you to take.
Okay, the last thing I want to do is just to thank our panelists. They've given us over an hour of their time, really done a great job answering questions. This is a passion project for me, it means so much to me. So from as deep as I could possibly say it, thank you. Can we get a round of applause for them? Okay, and then the last thing to do is to eat. So thanks to Division of Biology and K-State's American Chemical Society, there is pizza outside. There's probably a lot of pizza, so please eat it. Ryan's shaking his head very vigorously, so eat a lot of pizza. Pizza's good. Thank you all very much.